what's our book called? Rich. Okay, so we're live now. Good morning, everybody, and I just want to welcome you to our Saturday morning mastermind. And we've got, Karen's new with us today, but we've got Debbie and Jacoby and Sandy, and then we may have a couple other ladies joining us just a little bit further along. But I just want to say happy Saturday, and I hope that you, if you're following along with us, that you are beginning to have some breakthroughs, because I know I am, and I know a lot of folks everybody is having some kind of a breakthrough after spending time reading this book and participating in the masterminds and all of that kind of thing. And I'll share some more different things that have been kind of going on. This week has been super powerful for me, and over the last, I want to say, just a couple of weeks, I've just had a lot of breakthroughs and been more and more inspired every single day. And I truly believe that it is because of plugging into, this mastermind and the morning mindset call that is every day, and doing my personal development and just plugging into more and more people. And like on the morning mastermind call yesterday, Paul, was it Paul? Somebody was talking, everybody was kind of talking about the power of a mastermind, and how a lot of times that things will kind of come into your mind that are necessary to, help other people. And on that call, Paul had shared a story of his that really impacted somebody else on the call. And it was just a powerful thing. And they were talking a lot about how when you mastermind with other people, your brain, thoughts, creative energy, whatever you want to call it, starts to vibrate at a higher rate. And the people that are masterminding with you, we can kind of tap into each other's subconscious energies and into the energies of people surrounding us, and everybody who is kind of on that same path. We all kind of, can connect with one another. And not only when you actually have verbal masterminds and chats with each other do you have breakthroughs, but you also have breakthroughs by just hanging around and interacting with those people, just because we all are kind of like-minded, and there's power in being like-minded. So I just want to encourage you to, if you aren't already plugged into some sort of mastermind, where you're actively participating, I encourage you to do that, because not only have I been doing this one, but I do a Tuesday one, I do a daily one, which I'm starting to invite people onto, and then I have a couple that I do just kind of, spontaneously with some other folks randomly here and there. And then I listen into other ones as well. And the more people that you can connect with and tap into, the faster your breakthroughs are going to happen, the faster that things are going to start coming up in your life that are going to help you break through. So with that, the only other thing I wanted to say is, if you're watching us, you're on somebody's blog, you're on Facebook, you're on the YouTube channel, wherever it is that you happen to be, say something to it. Leave us a comment. Let us know that you're out there. Connect with us. Ask questions. Share your comments. Whatever it is that you happen to be feeling or thinking, and just start plugging in. So, with that, does anybody have anything that they want to share before we get back into the book? I'm gonna click over here on the comment stream for the channel.
Yeah, I am not sure how to do that.
It is, if you look on the right-hand side.
I'm in the toolbox.
If you click on the little green square comment-looking thingy.
Right.
And then you click on the word stream, the little tab stream. There isn't anything there right now, but if somebody posts a comment on the channel, that's where it'll show up. Now, I don't know how many people are actually hanging out on the channel, because most of what I've done is posted on my blog, so I imagine I get comments on there. And I think that other folks are doing the same thing. But if anybody just posted a direct link, then those viewers would end up being right on the channel. So.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Where do you see that, Samantha? I just wanted to, sorry.
On the hangout toolbox.
Yes.
And then the little green looks like a little,
I see it.
comment icon.
Yeah, got it. Thanks.
And then click on the tab that says Stream.
And does it matter if you click Show Hidden Oldest First Colors?
I don't think so. I haven't figured out what those are all about.
Okay.
So, I have no idea.
Okay.
Okay, so last week we discussed the chapter. It was chapter 8, and chapter 8 of, where are we here? Let me get back to the beginning. That one was thinking in a certain way, and we discussed how when you want to have something happen in your life, if you have a goal that you're reaching for, a dream that you're reaching for, whatever it happens to be, is that it's important that you think in a certain way, which is to get clear on what it is that you want. And we're talking about getting very clear, because vague ideas and generalizations of I just want to be wealthy, or I want to travel someday, or I want to go somewhere someday, or do this or do that, isn't clear enough. You have to get crystal clear on actually visualizing yourself in the situation of actively being in that lifestyle, and really clarify your exact destination. If you want a certain amount of money to do something, visualize that exact amount of money. And once you do that, then you want to have that outgoing gratitude and faith that it is coming to you, or that you have taken possession of it in your mind, and that you are just working every single day towards whatever actions that you're taking with that goal at the forefront of your mind, and just keeping it out there, and having the faith that it's going to come to you. Anybody have any thoughts on the previous chapter? Nope. Yep. Okay. Right on. Okay, so this week...
I wasn't in that discussion, so...
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, so this week we're going to talk about how to use the will. To set about getting rich in a scientific way, you do not try to apply your willpower to anything outside of yourself. You have no right to do so anyway. It is wrong to apply your will to other men and women in order to get them to do what you wish done. It is as flagrantly wrong to coerce people by mental power as it is to coerce them by physical power. If compelling people by physical force to do things for you reduces them to slavery, compelling them by mental means accomplishes exactly the same thing. The only difference is in the methods. If taking things from people by physical force is robbery, then taking things by mental force is robbery also. There is no difference in principle. You have no right to use your willpower upon another person, even for his own good, for you do not know what is for his good. The science of getting rich does not require you to apply power or force to any other person in any way whatsoever. There is not the slightest necessity for doing so. Indeed, any attempt to use your will upon others will tend to defeat your purpose. You do not need to apply your will to do things in order to compel them to come to you. That would simply be trying to coerce God, and would be foolish and useless as well as irreverent. You do not have to compel God or to give you good things any more than you have to use your willpower to make the sun rise. You do not have to use your willpower to conquer an unfriendly deity, or to make stubborn and rebellious forces do your bidding. Substance is friendly to you and is more anxious to give you what you want than you are to get it. To get rich, you need only to use your willpower upon yourself. When you know what to think and do, then you must use your will to compel yourself to think and do the right things. That is the legitimate use of the will in getting what you want. It is by holding yourself to the right course. Use your will to keep yourself thinking and acting in a certain way. Do not try to project your will or your thoughts or your mind out into space to act on things or people. Keep your mind at home. It can accomplish more there than anywhere else. Use your mind to form a mental image of what you want, and hold that vision with faith and purpose, and use your will to keep your mind working in the right way. The more steady and continuous your faith and purpose, the more rapidly you will get rich, because you will make only positive impressions upon substance, and you will not neutralize or offset them by negative impressions. The picture of your desires, held with faith and purpose, is taken up by the formless and permeates it into great distances throughout the universe, for all I know. Oh, for all I know. Sorry, the way I said that. As the impression spreads, all things are moving towards its realization. Every living thing, every inanimate thing, and the things yet uncreated are stirred towards bringing it into being that which you want. All forces begin to exert in that direction. All things begin to move toward you. The minds of people everywhere are influenced toward doing the things necessary to fulfilling your desires, and they work for you unconsciously. But you can check all this by starting a negative impression in the formless substance. Doubt or unbelief is certain to start a movement away from you, as faith and purpose are to start one toward you. It is by not understanding this that most people who try to make use of mental science in getting rich make their failure. Every hour and moment you spend in giving heed to doubts and fears, every hour you spend in worry, every hour in which your soul is possessed by unbelief, sets a current away from you in the whole domain of intelligent substance. All the promises are unto them that believe, and only to them, or unto them only. Notice how insistent Jesus was upon the point of belief, and now you know the reason why. Since belief is all important, it behooves you to guard your thoughts, and as your beliefs will be shaped into a very great extent by the things you observe and think about, it is important that that should command your attention. And here the will comes into use, for it is by your will that you determine upon what things your attention shall be fixed. If you want to become rich, you must not make a study of poverty. Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. Health is never to be attained by studying disease and thinking about disease. Righteousness is not to be promoted by studying sin and thinking about sin. And no one ever got rich by studying poverty and thinking about poverty. Medicine as a science of disease has increased disease. Religion as a science of sin has promoted sin, and economics as a study of poverty will fill the world with wretchedness and want. Do not talk about poverty. Do not investigate it or concern yourself with it. Never mind what its causes are. You have nothing to do with them. What concerns you is the cure. Do not spend your time in charitable work or charitable movements. All charities only tend to perpetuate the wretchedness it aims to eradicate. I do not say that you should be hard-hearted or unkind and refuse to hear the cry of need, but you must not try to eradicate poverty in any of the conventional ways. Put poverty behind you, and put all that pertains to it behind you, and make good. Get rich. That is the best way you can help the poor. And you cannot hold the mental image which is to make you rich if you fill your mind with pictures of poverty. Do not read books or papers which give circumstantial accounts of the wretchedness of tenement dwellers, of the horrors of child labor, and so on. Do not read anything which fills your mind with gloomy images of want and suffering. You cannot help the poor in the least by knowing about these things, and the widespread knowledge of them does not tend at all to do away with poverty. What tends to do away with poverty is not getting the getting of pictures of What tends to do away with poverty is not the getting of pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting pictures of wealth into your mind of the poor. You are not deserting the poor in their misery when you refuse to allow your mind to be filled with pictures of that misery. Poverty can be done away with not by increasing the number of well-to-do people who think about poverty, but by increasing the number of poor people who purpose with faith to get rich. The poor do not need charity, they need inspiration. Charity only sends them a loaf of bread to keep them alive in their wretchedness, or gives them an entertainment to make them forget for an hour or two. But inspiration will cause them to rise out of their misery. If you want to help the poor, demonstrate to them that they can become rich. Prove it by getting rich yourself. The only way in which poverty will ever be banished from this world is by getting a large and constantly increasing number of people to practice the teachings of this book. People must be taught to become rich by creation, not by competition. Every man who becomes rich by competition throws down behind him the ladder by which he rises and keeps others down. But every man who gets rich by creation opens a way for thousands to follow him and inspires them to do so. You are not showing hardness of heart or unfeeling disposition when you refuse to pity poverty, see poverty, read poverty, or think about it, or listen to the people who talk about it, or use your willpower to keep your mind off the subject of poverty and keep it fixed with faith and purpose on the vision of what you want. Wow, guys, this is like one of the most powerful chapters, and this one rings home to me so strongly this week. This is all I have been talking about for the past, I can't even, just recently, is that, that is the vision that we are trying to share with everyone out there who is willing to listen, who is open to it, is that in order to create more in your life, you must focus on having more. And when you focus on more, and when you focus on the positive, and when you start moving in that direction and having faith that it's going to happen, then you are inspired more and more and more, and you inspire other people by sharing that exact message, and you become more and more powerful in yourself, and your energy flows out into the universe, and people start to feel it, and they start to realize that it's possible for them, and that is how we make change in the world. Just like it was talking about, don't focus on poverty, focus on creating the awesomeness in yourself, that when you do that, you create a ripple effect that will go out from you, and it connects with the other people who are also creating that ripple effect, and then it becomes a huge wave, and the more and more people, it becomes a tsunami that is going to change the entire world. And I feel that in my soul, and now I'm beginning to see it more and more and more, that we are that epic change in humanity that is moving forward in the world, so that there will eventually be no negativity, there will eventually be no poverty, there will not be that suffering that everybody is going through right now. We've already seen that over time, from hundreds of years ago, things were much more horrible back then, much more suffering, more disease, more everything. And as we've moved through history into our future, and more people are becoming more enlightened and seeing that there is potential in themselves, then we are moving into that non-negative future, that positive future, that time of enlightenment. And I think that we are kind of on that tipping point, if you could say, of this particular time, this generation of the world or whatever, and we're at that point, and I just love the fact that so many of us are coming together. And I think the biggest change in the world really right now, or the way that we're making the biggest impact on the world, is because of the internet, because of these Google Hangouts, and because so many more people are being able to express this exact message to people that maybe would never hear it otherwise, because they don't purposely plug into people, but when they're online, they can accidentally come across this message and be inspired by it. So with that, guys, I also just want to say, Karen, gosh, this chapter connects so much with your story as well.
Yeah.
But what thoughts are coming up for everybody?
I'm not seeing you on the screen, Samantha. What happened?
I don't know. You can hear me though, right? I'm not just
I can hear you.
I see her.
I can see everybody as well.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't know. All I see is just your picture and not your video.
Very weird. Huh.
I'm anxious to hear this Karen's story.
Keep talking about it right now.
Okay. Everybody can see me though. I'm not sure what happened. All of a sudden, I
see you.
Okay. Okay. It's so powerful that when you crazy dog in the background. When you talked about the science of getting rich, and then you mentioned this chapter. Sorry.
The dog is saying, "Get in now. Join. Join the mastermind."
Make some stuff happen in your life. It's time.
Right.
I'm on the air here. Yeah, I'm sorry about that. She heard me and she thought it was a stranger. I was sharing with Samantha yesterday a little bit about my story, and it is kind of a long story. I'll try to make it short. But I guess back in 2007, this was actually one of the very first books that came to me when I was kind of doing some soul searching and re-evaluating where I was at in life. I was telling her that I come from a very religious background, and I had come to the conclusion that with everything that I thought I believed, I really wasn't where I thought I should be in life, you know, personally, spiritually, and you know, things just weren't really adding up for me. And so, and you know, I really kind of could relate to what Justin was saying a while back when he said that he came to a point in his life where he had to empty out because he was too full. And I was very full of myself, so to speak. And what I did is I came to the point and I said, you know what if I don't know everything, and what if, you know, there's so much more to know and learn, because I'm not progressing. I've been, you know, chiseling away at this for 30 years, and I'm not progressing. And I actually had given up on a lot of my dreams and goals and didn't realize it. I just got very busy, doing a lot of busy work, very distracted, and I kind of lost sight of really who I was and like a real purpose in my life. So this book came to me, and I still have I got it as an ebook and a download, and I'm looking back through it, and there's so many things that, you know, were aha moments to me. And this particular chapter on how to use the will is so phenomenal. And I'm looking through it, and I see all the underlines and the stars and the highlights, and it's like almost every line is highlighted because it was just so powerful to me. And because really, you know, coming from a religious point of view, we so totally try to use our will, and our concept of God's will is just so kind of messed up and twisted. No wonder a lot of even, you know, people of strong faith are frustrated because we just, you know, we have a misperception of, you know, of our true divine design, you know, and, you know, we beg God and try to plead, you know, like in a, like this says, you know, try to coerce God into, you know, please God, you know, we're so desperate because we have a sense of belief, and we, you know, we have all these ideals, but, you know, things aren't really happening, so we think, oh, God says no, you know, it's not the will of God. And really what it is we're just clueless, you know, clueless of what's really going on. And it's not that God doesn't want to bless people, and it's not that, you know, we're, oh, well, like that person must be deep in sin because look at their life, you know. But in sin, really, which I guess it can be true, because sin is just you're doing things incorrectly. Right. And, you know, really, when you peel it all down, you're doing things incorrectly according to your design, your divine design, and the whole mechanism of the universe, right? So what we're relearning here, and with this wonderful little tools like the Science of Getting Rich, is we're relearning, you know, what are we made of? You know, what is our universe made of, and how are we supposed to properly interact? And so when I first started this book years ago, and you know, I sort of you know, in my reevaluation, and came across books like this and learned about the law of attraction, and I was sharing with Samantha that I realized I'd had a dream years, you know, 30 years at that time, maybe 25 years ago, that I had always wanted a horse farm. And so that little dream came back alive, and I heard about the law of attraction, and heard about, you know, read the Science of Getting Rich, and started using some of the techniques to try to kind of reprogram myself. And you know, I'd hear stories of people like 1 year later, I got that $1 million. 1 year later, and I did not have my $1 million, and I was getting a little frustrated, but I really believed it, so I kind of kept, plugging away, and the more that I did, the more I realized I really had a lot more baggage than I thought that I had. I really was a lot more negative person than I thought that I was. So I had a lot of work to do on myself, and still do, but I started really focusing on getting that horse farm, because I realized that when we get desires like this, they really are put there. They are divine. They're meant for us to have. They're goals for us to achieve and to enjoy life, because we're supposed to have a blessed life. And so, I would do things, search on the internet, and for years, and I still didn't feel like things were changing. But it's kind of a very miraculous story, but a little bit long. So, like Samantha said, I'll kind of do the Reader's Digest version of it. And I didn't give up, and I actually visualized a lot with my daughter. Children are great to visualize with. They are just, if you have a child, just include them into your visualizing, because they make it so fun and they love getting into it, and you can really stir up a lot of real fun emotions with it. So we visualized, and still, I didn't see any change, nothing really happening. And then I heard this, I heard a little idea that my farm was getting very close. And still, weeks went by, and I said, well, what does that mean? I still don't see any change. Weeks went by, and to kind of progress the story, we just out of the blue, I got the idea to go look on Craigslist, and which I'd never ever, I thought was weird, but I went ahead and said, you know what, you get the ideas, you go with it, right? So it was just one very miraculous, listening to one little thought after another, and as it turned out, we, in a very short period of time, we ended up with this horse farm. And, and sometimes you try to figure things all out, but if I would have tried to figure it all out, we would have never gotten it. And even after we got into the horse farm and we actually bought it, I mean, there were times when it just seemed totally impossible. We thought we did everything all wrong. We needed a lot of money down. We didn't save any money because we were, paying off debt, and so we thought we made all the wrong decisions. But when it came right down to signing the papers, we paid $33. And I mean, how does that happen, right? It should have been $20,000, but it was $33. So you can't figure these things out sometimes, but you just step out there with faith, and you just listen to one step at a time. And what I realized, and I was telling Samantha, when I realized there's two things that are so mind-blowing, is that I would share this miraculous story with people, and I would say, it was my life dream. And I started thinking, well, when did I want that horse farm? And I realized that I kept thinking back, and I realized the exact year that I really first started wanting my horse farm. And then I realized that the farm was built that same year that I first wanted it. Wow. And I thought, wow, I mean, that's how fast, when you get a desire, I mean, immediately everything starts falling into place. But I lost my way, so to speak. It took me 30 years to get there, but it didn't have to. So I was a little bit excited about that my farm was being built exactly the same time I was getting the desire. A little bit depressed almost, like, man, it took me 30 years. Why did it take me 30 years to get there? But then again, but what was really cool about it is I've learned so much through all that. But then I was telling Sam, another aha moment that I had is when we first started doing the 90-day story, that if you're familiar with Paul Hutchings' 90-day story. Mm-hmm. And I realized that when I really started focusing in on, with anticipation and more excitement and belief about my horse farm was 90 days. It was actually 90 days from that time till when, till we actually, signed the papers and got the horse farm. And I was telling her there's just something sort of like some sort of miraculous about that 90-day window, and I don't know what it is, but so that really unbelievable, miraculous things can happen when you really do put your focus mixed with faith. It's just so incredible. Mm-hmm. That's my 90-day story.
Thanks for sharing that with us, Karen, because I think that kind of brings out some really important points of this chapter, is because when, the chapter was saying, when you have a desire for something, the universe, automatically starts moving it towards you in that direction. And of course, that's kind of that correlation with when you first thought of it, that's when the farm was built. But yet it also talks about in that chapter that when you have your desire, but if you have doubts of yourself, or you don't think that it's really possible, or you're only thinking of it as a wish or something like that, is that you aren't brought together with your dream because of your doubts. And and so all that time that you were going through life and with your struggles and all of those things, that's the same experiences that so many of us go through. But then when you made that personal development change and you really started focusing and getting serious and having true faith and belief in yourself, it was only 90 days to when it manifested for you or came together, and that's just so powerful.
Yeah, that's an awesome story, Karen, and that just speaks the will of just talking your dreams into existence. And it doesn't matter where you are in life, how old you are, your capacity of thinking, as long as you have a mind and you can design what you believe in your mind, and then you just build your blocks and work towards it. And that's the power of the will in this chapter that we were talking about. And there's so many people out there who claim that they do have a will to do something, but they don't just apply it. They just talk about it and think that it's going to just manifest itself by continuing to talk, which it could, but they have to believe. And that's the whole part about this will chapter, is believing, speaking into existence, spending your wakening hours just thinking about this goal, or this level of success that you're trying to reach, or this dream that you're having. And that's why I think it's so profound, because we all have those dreams. We all have something that we desire, but we're just that far away from it, just that far away. And it doesn't take long to get or have. It just applying yourself, keeping yourself around positive juices, and keep it flowing, and talk about it every day to someone that is of like mind. Not talk about someone every day who just negative. Oh, you can never have that, or you can never do that, or that's impossible. Nothing is impossible. We can all have what
that is want. So true.
Yes,
so
nothing
true.
is impossible. So I love that story, Karen, and keep
one thing about that is, you see, I had a love for horses, but I was clueless of what to do with them, how to take care of them. So I had a moment of panic when I heard your farm is very close. And I went, close? Well, what do I do? And then I heard, well, don't worry about any of the details. Well, we actually moved on a farm that was 15 acres that was sectioned off from a whole horse facility. So we actually have our own personal trainer right here on the property.
Nice.
and has mentored us, and actually we're all like a big community out here. Right. So it's like we've got our own personal trainer. I mean, to get the property, and we had horses given to us, personal trainer right here, mentors, help. It was just, I could never even dream to try to figure all that out.
Right.
Wow, wow.
So, pay attention to that little voice. It's quite incredible when you hear things, and people would tell me, and I did hear things like, well, you're not a farm girl. You can't live out in the country. You can't take care of horses. What are you going to do out there? Or how are you going to? It's just not possible. That's just not going to work out. And I just said, well, that's not what I believe.
Right.
And so I did hear negative things. And I said, well, I don't know the details, but I'm hearing, don't worry about the details and just go forward one step at a time.
Right. And you were excited about it. And that's the key part about it too, is that buildup of excitement, and that gave you that will to keep going forward, stronger and stronger and stronger. And it's just awesome to see that they came full circle for you like that, because you don't hear enough of those success stories.
Yeah, and I think sometimes when, like, for some of the other success stories that you hear, like some of the more popular ones that were publicized, it seemed like everything happened so fast,
Right.
or happened, and so I think, to me, I almost wanted to give up, because I thought, well, maybe, especially with my religious background, I thought, well, maybe I'm really going way off track here, and this
Right.
isn't, and because it's not happening like these people said it happened, and
Right.
so maybe I'm really just lost my way, so to speak. But I thought, no, it just really rings more true to me, and because I'd ask for divine direction.
Right.
I asked for divine direction, and the resources just came piling in from
Right.
everywhere.
Right.
and
Right.
and everywhere from quantum science to the science of getting rich.
Wow. Right.
And I just really believed. I really believed that they were divinely given to me to help me stretch and grow, and it doesn't always happen the way that we think it's going to happen. Well, it never happens the way we
Right.
think it's going to happen.
Right.
It just never does.
Right.
And so I think as long as we're open and give ourselves time to grow and stretch, and because we've got a lot of reprogramming to do, and some of us more than others, and we don't realize it. But I think when we do realize, when we do get to the point where we know we've got this reprogramming to do, and we know we've got baggage, but we're willing to invest into ourselves and give ourselves time to
Right.
reprogram and make those changes, then then it doesn't matter what you got
Right.
the rest of your
Right.
life, right?
Right. Right. And that's why I
And-
say, like what you said, empty your cup. You have to empty your cup all the way. And two, like the 90-day rule. It doesn't matter. That doesn't mean it's the next 90 days. It doesn't mean it's
Exactly.
the 90 days after that. But it means in those 90 days that it does happen, you're going to
Yeah.
be able to cut that piece of pie out of your life and say,
Yes,
it
that
happened
is
in
so
90 days.
powerful. That's so powerful,
Yeah.
because you do hear that is exactly what's going on there. It's not like, okay, from here it's 90 days.
Right, right.
But
right.
it is a 90 days when you're actually truly, in there and truly engaged.
For you. Right, right, right.
When you actually are plugged in all the way, you got the connection. When you got
Right.
a clear connection,
Right.
that's when it's 90 days.
And that's what is powerful, because I used to think that too. I was like, 90 days, okay, 90 days from today, everything is going to happen. And then when it doesn't happen, you get disappointed. But
Yeah.
it's just not. Don't rush. Just take your time. And when it stopped being like a job or a duty, that's when it just starts manifesting, because
Yeah.
every day is preparing for you. Every day is
Right.
preparing for you. Just like a year from now, you may not be rich, but you may be better. You will be better than where you started today.
Right.
So and then the year that you become rich, that's your year that you're going to talk about. Well, in a year's time, this is what happened, and that's when all the work. That's when all the wheels came together. That's when all the stars aligned in the universe. That's when everything every piece of the puzzle came together for someone or yourself in general for the horse form, and it just aligns. So you're able to talk about your 90 days of success, and that's what happened.
Right.
And people
And you know what? I wasn't counting the days either. I didn't realize. I had no idea it was going to be 90 days, right? But I was looking back. I was like, my goodness, it was 90 days. And so that is just so powerful, you know, to realize that you know, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be on a countdown, but you know, but there is something miraculous about that time frame. There was one other thing that really kind of helped me going, and I heard this, and I can't remember the name of it, but sometimes we think of our life and our progress, we see it as a graph, as starting, and that slowly climbs and slowly, we see it like a graph. And there's actually a different sort of thing going on there, is instead of this slow progression like a graph chart slowly zigzagging up, it's actually more like there's a flat line and all of a sudden you make this big leap and then you're up to the next platform. And when I heard that, that encouraged me for some reason, because I felt like I was going nowhere, getting nowhere. So I thought, oh, cool, because anytime I'm going to make this big jump. So when I heard that, that was just so encouraging to me, because I thought, great. So even though I don't feel any progression, I know that the big jump is coming. So and you know what? And it really does work like that. You can feel like nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden you do something that you engage, with your knowledge, and you're starting to get reprogrammed, and you're masterminding, and you're hanging around people, and you do make that mental, spiritual, emotional switch. And it's not like, I think it may seem like a switch, because maybe it actually happens, but it's more like it's a build up into that switch, It's all the input, the feedback, and everything. But you know, just knowing that that's really how things work, where it seems flatline for a long time, then you get to make the big jump. It was really encouraging to me. It really was.
Dude, that should be a story that you may call it the big jump.
Yeah, the big jump. Yeah.
There you go, because that's when it does happen. And like, I manage rap artists, and
wow.
for a while you start just going around to the local thing and then getting popular, and you know, this, that, and the other. But then you look at the BET Awards, MTV Awards, and you're like, that's me one day. That's my artist up on the stage one day. And you know that jump is going to happen. You just don't know when. It could happen within the next year. It can happen within the next 2 years. And we go from having a hangout to seeing Jacoby on the MTV Awards with his artist on stage. And like, we know that guy. We know that guy.
Oh, we're all there in black tie and fancy dresses, hanging out, watching.
Like, let's go. But it does happen in the big jump, and I've heard that story so many times. And I've seen people go from nothing to something in just a drop of a dime, and it just happens, and their life changed. And then you ask them how, and they just, I don't know how. It just happened. Everything just came together. And they say it comes together fast.
Right.
Up hope.
Exactly.
So that's awesome.
That's awesome. I'm writing this stuff down. You guys are giving me all kinds of good, you know, just feeding my mind with all this great stuff. You know, there's that big jump. I mean, that's huge, because you do hear that all the time. People go, you know, the success stories, and they go, well, one day I was, you know, homeless, and the next, you know, but I mean, we know it didn't go instantly, but their life just instantly changed in front of our eyes, you know. And having that 90-day, I love that, you know, the 90-day window, really what that means, you know, and not to look at it. A lot of people go, oh, it didn't happen. They get, you know, discouraged, like you said, Jacoby. Is like, but it's living on that purpose, you know. That's why they give you kind of that window, because then now you're living on purpose, you know. So you just keep living on purpose. Guess what's going to happen? You know, all your what you want in life is going to happen. But it's that living on purpose. That's one thing they said. You know, and with your you have it you have it with your vision, the purpose on vision, and you have it. You know, so that's an incredible story, Karen. I love your story. It's just amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much. I enjoy sharing it. You know, I was looking when Samantha was reading, where in the Science of Getting Rich, where it says to get rich, you need only to use your willpower upon yourself. And I'm also reading Psycho-Cybernetics, and yeah, and really that's been a big help for me too, to really understand that what's going on there with us. And really, you know, so what we're talking about here is really the reprogramming, you know, and willpower being more like self-control, you know. And in Psycho-Cybernetics, it talks about the way that we try to use willpower like in a negative way, like I will do this, you know, trying to like almost force ourselves,
right?
You know? But really, so putting those two together, what's really happening is you know, is using self-control and understanding ourselves better, getting a better understanding of ourselves, and kind of taking it easy on ourselves, and, you know, just understanding that, you know, we've got healing to do, we've got reprogramming to do, and just bringing ourselves along the way, and investing into ourselves, giving ourselves knowledge, and just allowing ourselves to, you know, to learn, grow, stretch, and heal. A lot of it's healing. You know, a lot of us have so much emotional scars and so much emotional baggage, and we you know, because we've learned to do it, we try to force ourselves in almost like a mean kind of way, right, instead of in a loving, you know, healing way. Because really, it's more of a healing than anything. You know, we've got so much healing, you know, inner healing to do, and you know, to actually be able to make the changes, because because you know, our culture is just so cruel, you know, and you know, even in trying to be nice, you know, even when I looked at myself in a lot of ways that I saw myself as religious, was actually kind of cruel in a way, you know, in this forceful kind of way, even, you know, like I said, even trying to coerce God and beg God, you know, and just even the concept of how we even see God is almost kind of cruel and hard. And, you know, and people blame God, you know, where really it's not God's intention at all. I mean, it's like just think of the beautiful thing that we have here is that everything that we're talking about here is there's a divine design, and our whole universe was designed to work with us and for us. I mean, like, how beautiful is that? Yeah. And it's supposed to be natural, right? And I think we're so programmed to do everything by force, right? Force it, press it, you know. And so what we're trying to reprogram to do is do something more natural, right? You know. And so we're trying to reprogram what, you know, something that is how does this naturally work? And by just kind of calming down a little bit and just, you know, starting to listen to those little ideas and that are coming to us, and then not being afraid to follow them. You know, it's those little soft ideas that don't even make sense sometimes. You know, like go look for your horse farm on Craigslist. What? You know? And you know, I mean, we did crazy things. Like we didn't even sell our house or anything. You know, we just did things that totally seemed like it didn't make any sense to do at all, and we just did it. You know, but yes,
You know, it's funny, you know, what you're saying. This has nothing to do with the science of getting rich or just the intuition.
Right.
And a few years back, was engaged to be married to a gentleman, and he wasn't being faithful. But I'd had that feeling, but I didn't know. And he would go, it was his normal thing to go, you know, after work to do a happy hour thing. And I never did. I just never, it just wasn't my thing to do.
Right.
And so one day I'm coming home from work, and this thing came to my voice. It says, you have to go to this one place. And this wasn't even the place he normally hangs out. And my car instructed me to go. It was the strangest thing. And I pulled up the moment that he was coming out of the car with this gal. And the moment is just like, how could that even be? I look back to this day and go, you know, something divine had told me to do the thing. And, you know, it's funny how you just listen to those little voices. Like, I could have said, I don't know why, I don't want to go, I don't ever go. But something just told me to go that one particular day. It was so powerful. It was just so powerful.
Right.
So you know, nothing to do with the science of getting rich, but listening.
No, I think it has everything to do. I think it does.
Just listening to your inner self, those voices that you have. There's purpose of those little voices that are coming to you. Like you said, Karen, go to Craigslist. Yeah.
And the owner said, I didn't. The owner of the property said, why did you put it on Craigslist? You never put it on Craigslist. And he goes, I don't know. I just decided to do it. And,
Awesome.
you know, so it was, that's just how it happens, you know. And think about it. We are, the way that our mind works, and and I was telling Samantha, you know, one thing that I was told to do is study quantum science. Well, I'm not a very technical person, right? And I can't even read most of the words, but, you know, I got the concept, right? So in quantum science, a lot of the things when they're studying energy and they're studying all these quantum things, and they even say that the way that they're starting to see energy is something more supernatural. I can't even explain it. It's more, they said, it's almost like more spiritual, more emotional, more, you know, it's just so supernatural. So when you think about, you know, really when hearing that little voice, well, we hear it in our mind. And when you think about, you know, we're all connected, everything's energy. And so you hear that little voice in your mind, and we don't know where it's coming from, right?
Right.
If we don't know if it's coming from ourself because we've become in tune because we're connected, or we don't know if it's coming from, you know, some would say it's your guardian angel, some people would say it's God, but we know it's something sort of supernatural above the realm that we normally function in. We know it's something sort of supernatural. So, I mean, but it's given to us. It's given to us as a resource, right? Wherever it comes from, wherever it's us being connected or whatever that is, I mean, it's usually right.
Right.
And just learning to, you know, to tune into that is I think that's really a lot of what he's talking about here, just learning to really tune into that. And I guess that takes practice too, you know, because sometimes we can be so tuned into a negative voice. And, you know, I didn't realize until I started really paying attention, like, wow, I have a lot of negative thoughts, and I still have to catch myself. And, you know, so it is a process and to reprogram, because we don't always, you know, we're not always aware. You know, we're just so conditioned to accept, you know, our life and you know, until I think think about it, it's kind of a mechanism. It's a fail-safe mechanism Like if your life is pretty miserable, well, you wouldn't know it was miserable unless you felt miserable, right?
Right.
So when you're feeling miserable, it's like something's just not right. I'm miserable.
Right.
So being miserable, I used to think there's scripture that says, well, you know, if you're really having a bad time, that could be good. I think, well, how can that be good? Well, I guess it can be good because if you don't know that it's bad, you're just going to stay there.
Right.
But if you know, like I'm not happy or this, I want, you know, so that being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. It makes you want to get out of that being uncomfortable. So that's a good thing.
I think it's an indication that you're not going down the path to what you desire. So if you are in an uncomfortable situation, you're not happy, or your life sucks, or you don't feel whatever it happens to be. It's like with Debbie and her example of you know, coming across her, you know, her fiance at that bar, and that niggling feeling that said to her, hey, you need to go check this out, was probably because you were focused on, you know, being with this person in a happy way and having happiness in your life and having, you know, something great and wonderful, and but you do have this little niggling feeling that came over you and said, hey, something's happening that is going to, you know, direct you in a path to make you happy and not make you sad. You know, so it's kind of the same thing as when you get those feelings in the back of your mind that are saying something to you, or you're feeling that unpleasantness. It's because you've turned down the wrong path, and you need to get back on track to reach your goal.
Right. And just like the will, you know, when you have the will, you have the will of the way, you have the will to receive, you have the will to give, just as long as you don't misuse your willpower. And that's a strong statement. That's just profound.
Yes.
And it's just one of those things that we just have to listen more to our inner self, because some people say it's our subconscious talking to us too. So it's just, we don't know what it is, but if you listen more and tune in to what you really need and the desires that you have, it will piece together. It's just, you have to have that energy. The energy is, that powerful energy is so strong, and you know, just thinking about it every day, and if it gets you pumped, then that's what you really desire. But if it's just something you're like, I can live with it or live without it, well, 9 times out of 10 you're gonna be living without it.
That's true.
For you.
Yeah, it's true.
This message has been very powerful for me this weekend.
That's awesome. You know, one thing that comes up with me, you know, as far as, you know, we talk about listening to that inner voice and taking action on those things that it's telling us. And, you know, just in the past couple of weeks, you know, I have had, you know, little things come up in my mind, and I've taken action on them. And each time that I take action, I feel more powerful, like I'm getting closer a lot faster, and then every time I take action on something that I hear in the back of my mind, another thing comes up much quicker. It was like it used to be that these little thoughts would come up in my mind and they'd be really far apart, and now they're just getting closer and closer and closer together. It's like, you know, now, you know, I'm starting to tune into them. I'm getting more signals, if you would, and I think that that's super powerful too, because it's just kind of like that 90-day compression that, you know, and that leap forward like Karen was talking about, where you have that just kind of sudden jump. And it's because when you start to really tap into your own intuition, your own inspiration, and the things that you're actually connecting with, that's when you make those leaps forward, and that's when it happens faster. And that's why we have so many people that have these, like, all of a sudden, you know, like when Justin went from making $5,000 a month to the next month he made $26,000 or whatever it was, and then the next 90 days it was like $60,000 or something. You know, it's like when people start to make these little progressions, is that they compound and they increase and they get more quick, because success likes speed, right? And so here's one quote that I heard on the morning mindset call from yesterday, and one of the callers from the Mastermind, he said, you know, they said this in church or something like that, but anyway, he said, here, God, give us this day our daily miracle, and forgive me if I don't recognize it.
Right.
And I think that's just really powerful because that's exactly what we're talking about is, we get those messages and, either A, you didn't hear it because you were so focused on something else, or B, you're not taking action on it to create the success that you want. So, yeah. We're coming up on the top of the hour, so if everybody wants to just kind of say their final closing thoughts on this chapter, and then we can have our good and fun afternoon Saturday. I'm going to be hanging out with my daughter. She's home from college, so I don't want to miss that.
Well, I'll speak. I didn't get a chance to jump in because
tell us some thoughts, Sandy.
Yeah, I'm more in like the receiving mode today. All the information was just so great, and I remember you saying at one point, Karen, something about there was a time where you didn't realize, you were more negative you realized than you thought you were. And I remember when I started on this journey, and I was trying to, learn how to be more in love and gratitude and in the higher vibrations to be able to create what I desire in my life. And it's funny because it's like, in a certain place we're not aware of ourselves. And when I first started really looking at, where I was, it was like, wow, I really was in a negative place. And it was almost like I grew up around people where it was like cool to be negative. So, that was the cool thing to do was like be negative. And I was like, what?
Yeah, exactly.
Why am I so negative? And so, that was really eye-opening when I initially realized, because I always thought, oh yeah, I know what love and gratitude are. But then when you really practice it, it's like, I had no idea. So
exactly, total reprogramming.
Yeah, and then that's when the clear voices come. That's when you know that the voice that you're hearing, the thought that you're hearing, is genuinely coming from the greater, whatever you want to call it. Is when you're in the higher vibration feelings, then you can follow that. When it's in the lower vibrations of fear or worry, then it's sort of like, should I listen to that thought? Probably not, because it's
definitely
of fear. And I really like this chapter, about having the willpower on yourself and not on others. And it just reminds me, before I'm doing anything, to remember to have that intention of what I want to be inside of what energy do I want in whatever I'm creating, whether it's a blog, whether it's a video, whatever it is. To take that moment to set the intention of what I want in that. Do I want the love and gratitude that I'm feeling to pour through that energetically, and to really take that moment before everything I'm doing to make sure it's coming from a place of love and gratitude, and knowing that I don't have to force others, like, you have to follow me. They'll just come because they feel that energy. So it makes so much sense, just having that willpower on yourself, and you can change the world through yourself. So it's so powerful, so powerful. I love this chapter. I loved all that you shared. I wrote so many notes, and I'm just very inspired. So thank you.
That's awesome. Well, I will talk next. I will say, stay committed and have strong belief, and nothing is impossible. If you desire, keep going after it. And no, don't force it. Allow it to happen. Let it happen. Because if you don't let it happen, then you'll find yourself on this journey for a long time, a force, when all you had to do was throw your hands up and open your heart, and it would have came right to you, and you would have attracted it. So that's the meaning, and that's the definition of true willpower over yourself. Don't put yourself out there so far by force, because you're going to be looked at as you forced your way out there. But once you just put yourself out there by attraction, everybody's going to flock to you. You're going to be the new leader on the block. They're going to say, wow, where did this person come from? But I love their story, just like Karen, first day out on this hangout, and now everyone is attracted to her just because they connected with her story. And it may have taken her some years to do, but look at what happened. It's worth it. It's worth it.
Exactly.
No matter when it happens, it's still worth it.
Very true.
I wrote so many notes. I mean, I can't even tell you how many notes I wrote today. So I think I did get a lot of the receiving, and I think receiving is so important. just like Jacoby, I love what he says on his little thing, open your heart. You know, that right there is just opening your heart and really knowing your faith and your purpose. I think sometimes we just don't know, just don't have the faith, we don't have the belief. But it all starts inside, and we just start believing in ourselves and getting fed with good information, the books, the community that we're with. I mean, our community has so many like-minded people that are all striving for to show people there is a better way, and to start getting away from, like he said, don't don't go to the newspapers, don't do that. Well, in our daytime, stay away from the TV, stop bringing any of that negativity, just bring all the positive forces around you. And then when you surround yourself with that positive force, and that just, I mean, I always feel like when we're even on this hangout, you feel that positive force. And that's the kind of community I like to be around, because that will just drive me to be better and to be, put the more natural of my abilities. And like I that's one of the things that it's like on my purpose, is to sound more natural in the sense of being from the heart. And I think sometimes I feel like before, maybe I would, even though it's from my heart, I would be more forceful. I think it's my personality of probably being a manager and whatever in my life and telling people what to do, and to really understand it's coming from the heart and being that natural sense. And it's like that this whole journey for me is reprogramming my mind, and that anybody can reprogram your mind. I don't care, from if you're 18 to 75 years old or 80 years old. If you have that want and desire, you can reprogram.
Right.
So, I always love this morning mastermind. It's great.
I just want to say thank you for being invited. I really have enjoyed this, and I just wanted to just emphasize something that Sandy had said, sometimes we do have a lot of noise going on in our head, and when we do start to put more positive into our lives and connecting with more positive people, and start doing the reprogramming and making those changes, then that we do get more clarity, and the voice is like, I think what she was saying is, then we can trust it. We can trust it, because sometimes when we're coming out of a lot of junk, we do have a lot of noise going on in our head that we necessarily don't really want to trust, because it's not very positive and it can be confusing. But the closer that we get to that 90-day window that we're talking about, and like what Samantha was saying too, you start hearing it clearer and more frequently, and it progresses. And at first it might be a little foggy or hazy, and it might be far and few between. But as you keep reprogramming and keep clearing out the junk, it comes faster. It flows instead of sporadic spurts. You get more of a stream. Right. And and really, what the whole purpose of what Samantha is doing here is an outlet to be an encouragement to others. And I'm just thankful to be a part of that. That was fun.
That was awesome. Oh, right on, guys. You have all added so much value to this hangout, and I enjoy so much listening to everyone's point of view. And for those of you that are out there just kind of watching and hanging out with us, I want to hear from you too. Leave us a comment, shoot us a message on Facebook, connect with us in some way, and we can bring you out so we can hear your story and hear some of your breakthroughs and your successes in your life, and you can be an inspiration to others as well. So with that being said, guys, it's about it's a quarter after the hour, and I know we all have things to do today, but I just want to say, everybody out there, meet us back here again on next Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern. And we'll be, tapping into the next chapter, which I think is chapter 10. And in the meantime, keep doing your daily, gratitude. What are you happy for? What are you thankful for? And, we're still on that gratitude challenge. And, we put it as a 90-day thing. And just, tag us on Facebook when you say your gratitude challenge, or you say what you're grateful for. Put a hashtag, 90-day gratitude challenge, and then tag us from this hangout, and we'll know that you're out there and you're on the same journey that we are, and we can all you just keep taking pictures, everybody. And we look forward to hearing your successes. So guys, with that being said, happy Saturday, and we will see you next week, and just have an awesome and amazing weekend. And happy Mother's Day, too.
Happy Mother's Day to all of you ladies. Happy Mother's Day.